43 quintillion, or precisely the number you're seeing on the screen right now. That's the absolutely massive number of permutations on a single Rubik's Cube. But let's find out why. In order to figure out the total number of possible cases on a Rubik's Cube, we will essentially be considering how many different ways we can place each piece into the cube. We only need to consider the pieces that move, and that would just be the edge and the corner. While the core to some degree rotates, it never moves out of its actual position, which means we don't have to worry about it. Because we cannot place corners where edges would go, and vice versa, we can count the ways we put in the corners and the edges separately and multiply the amounts for the grand total. Before we get started with counting, it is important to know that a permutation in cubing is an arrangement of the pieces. An orientation, on the other hand, is a rotation of the pieces. So first, let's talk about the permutation of the corners. The first corner can be placed in any one of 8 places around the cube. The second corner, meanwhile, can only be in 7 places, as one corner slot has already been taken by the previous corner. The third corner can only be in 6 places, and so on for all 8 corners. To find the total amount of permutations, we simply multiply all of these numbers together. When we do multiplication of all integers from 1 to some other integer n, we write it as n with an exclamation mark after it, or n factorial. Thus, the total number of corner permutations is 8 factorial. Next, we need to consider the way that the corners are oriented. Each corner has a total of 3 different ways it can face. However, we cannot twist all 8 corners in whichever direction we want, as that may cause an unsolvable cube. In order to prevent this, we can let the last corner be dependent on the way the first 7 corners are twisted. This guarantees our cube is solvable, but it also means that our last corner only has one way it can face, and as far as our counting is concerned, non-existent. Thus, for each of the 7 corners we can twist, we will multiply by 3 for a total of 3 to the 7th power. Similarly, for the permutation of edges, there will be 12 positions for the first edge, 11 for the second, and so on for a total of 12 factorial. When it comes to the orientation of the edge, each edge has a total of 2 possible orientations. But again, in order for the cube to be solvable, the orientation of the last edge is determined by the remaining 11 edges. So instead of 2 to the 12th power of cases, we only have 2 to the 11th power. Finally, notice how we cannot just have swapped one pair of edges or one pair of corners. Instead, we must have at least one edge swap and one corner swap. Otherwise, the cube would again be unsolvable. Additionally, notice how having an impossible corner swap is actually equivalent of having an impossible edge swap, as in the latter case, we can also swap a pair of corners to make the case possible again. Thus, when determining the amount of permutations for the corners to make the cube solvable, both the second last and last corner are actually determined by the edges. This means that they only have one possibility each, and our total corner permutations can actually be written like this, or 8 factorial divided by 2. Now we can simply multiply the number of corrected corner permutations, corner orientations, edge permutations, and edge orientations to get our magic number of around 43 quintillion. But let's take some time to think about how large this number really is. 43 quintillion is larger than the total number of grains of sand on the surface of planet Earth. In fact, it's larger than the amount of stars in the observable universe, all from a simple puzzle with only 20 moving pieces. So the next time you scramble a cube, think about that scramble. Chances are it's never been seen before, because it's not just 1 in a billion, not 1 in a quadrillion, but 1 in 43 quintillion. That makes that scramble, that solve, and you unique and special. And these nearly endless amounts of different permutations and scrambles will continue to entertain cubers like you and me for hundreds of years to come. Now that's something I'm thankful for this season. And something, no matter if you're just getting into cubing or are a professional cuber, something that you should be thankful for too. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.